But here it is, practiced all across the world now by people of different religious faiths. And there's all kinds of ways of dealing with that. Never mention faith at all in yoga, and stick to the facts. Where your feet go, where your hand is in relationship to your foot, where you're supposed to look, and leave it out of the equation entirely so as not to offend anybody. And that's a really good approach. I don't have a problem with that approach. The other approach is step boldly into difficult territory in the hope of sparking some place of inspiration inside people that can help them use this practice that we all share to deepen their individual faith. There's some other options, like try to recruit people to your own faith, but that's not mine. So that one is definitely not behind this particular talk about faith. There's no, in America we have something called tent revivals in the Christian churches there. Some of the fundamentalist Christian churches, they have big tents and big preachers. And so sometimes in yoga in America I say, this is not a conversion tent. But we do sometimes talk about faith. And to me, I find it very inspiring to hear about different people's faiths, like what inspires them in their heart of hearts to stand up in a certain way, to tell the truth when it's hard, to keep going when we feel a little defeated. To me, where I put my foot and where I put my other foot, that's not the whole story of yoga. There's the other lessons in all of it that spark what I call a remembrance of what matters to me. And there's a Buddhist teacher who teaches a lot of, she's an American Buddhist teacher named Pema Chodron. She wrote a very good book called When Things Fall Apart, and another one about fear, called The Places That Scare You. And I listened to a talk of hers one time where she spoke about faith from her tradition. I'm not a Buddhist, but I have great respect for the tradition, and sometimes, I wouldn't say study, because to me study means study. I read some of their teachings and think about them, but not study. But I got to listen to her talk on faith from her teacher and from her tradition. And she said in her tradition, faith is not the idea that everything will work out for the best. Just that's not their way. Because we can look around and see that it's not always the case for everybody. Some people have a tragedy that strikes their life and they don't really recover from it. It's very sad. Perhaps every one of us knows someone like that, where it didn't really seem to work out for the best. It seemed to be a tragedy followed by a tragedy, followed by more bad luck. And then we know other people that maybe tragedy happened and negative circumstances this year became the foundation for something unexpected and positive next year. So sometimes it works out for the best. But it wasn't her way of thinking that it always works out for the best for everybody. And I found this to be a great relief. I'm not an optimist by nature. I practice triangle pose and I practice optimism, but I don't wake up optimistic. Okay, just me. Some of you seem happy, so you might. She said in her tradition, faith is the understanding, the experience that life is always communicating with us. And that we can, through practice, learn to understand what it's trying to teach us. She says faith is that we're never separate from the force that's trying to teach us what we need to know to go to the next place in our lives. So in those moments of darkness, in a bad circumstance, faith isn't necessarily, this will get better tomorrow. Faith is that this circumstance holds within it my next teacher. And when it's good today, faith is that this wonderful circumstance holds within it my teacher. And when we don't know how it is, and we can't see the next good step, faith is knowing that the uncertainty is our teacher. And I thought it was such an important way to think about faith, that it's not necessarily about doctrine, although some of us may draw inspiration from doctrine, and faith might be deeper than religious affiliation, yet religious affiliation might help us learn from our circumstance. But this Buddhist teacher said, faith is knowing that life is always communicating with us. So to me, yoga is about learning to listen to myself as a way to listen to my own wisdom. It's a way to listen to my teacher, to understand how my experience is in relationship with outer teachings. It's about getting sensitive to where my body is in space and knowledgeable about the way I work, so that I can be sensitive when I step off my mat to the way life seems to be working in that moment. So it's a tool in that process of learning from experience. And a great chant that I've been teaching that has this in mind comes from the Indian tradition, where they talk about Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And like this Buddhist teacher was saying, each one of those things is communicating with us something important. In the flush of something new and exciting that we've created, there's the teacher. When something is enduring, in that phase where it's living fully, the Vishnu phase, there lives our teacher. And when things are dissolving, something we've held to be true and it's ending, or maybe when something we've been enduring and not enjoying at all ends. Sometimes sickness ends. Sometimes a bad relationship ends. So ends are not good or bad, they just end. They just end. Same with beginnings. But therein lies our teacher. So the chant says, Guru Brahma, the teacher lives in the beginning. Guru Vishnu, the teacher lives in everything that endures. Guru Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshvara. The Guru lives at the end in all that is destroyed. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma. The Guru is in everything. Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I bow to that true teacher. I bow to life. In the beginning and the middle of everything that it is trying to teach me, the light of my own heart, my next best step, what to do. I bow to those things that are the source of my own faith.